We've had a very productive week. We took Sunday off. We didn't practice yesterday, but the 3 practices we have had have been very, very intense, very upbeat, very energetic, and I would say that going back even to Monday, that Verdell and Christian were the 2 guys that came in here, and you could just see the edge was alive and well, and they got our practices going at a really good clip. So we've had, certainly we had to maneuver a few times, and we've lost a couple guys along the way to going to take their tests. But we've had a couple different times that we've worked into, and for the most part, we've had most of the guys there. It's been good, very good. We've been dealing with a little sickness this week, but other than that, it's been very good. Our guys realized that we had a great opportunity last weekend. They took advantage of it, and their work ethic this week leads me to believe that they're ready to take the next opportunity at hand and go very hard and continue to make progress. And I think they understand that there's a lot of room for improvement, especially after we watch the film of the game. And at the same time, we're playing a very good opponent, very dangerous opponent, shoots the 3 extremely well. Their leading scorers, their inside player, Jack Cooley, and especially over the last 5 games, he's been their leading scorer. But and certainly it'll be a great venue. It'll be a lot of pageantry, I would think, to that, with a sellout crowd and 4 in-state schools playing in Conseco, and I think they're excited. So at the same time, we haven't met as much because of the exams. We've got numerous guys taking finals today at 5, but it'll get a little more normal for us after we leave here tomorrow night and get up to Indianapolis, and then we'll be locked in, getting ready for the game. So
how much of a positive is it that there was a week between that and Kentucky game?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's not like you can look at it and dictate it one way or the other. I never like long turnarounds, but you know, for one time a year, for sure you're going to have it because of exam week. But at the same time, you want to make sure that you're getting better inside of that week, that they're getting a chance to rest up a little bit. And we took yesterday off from practice, but we still did some specialization with some of the guys. You watch film, but that they get their legs under them. And at the same time, you got to keep them engaged mentally, because it's real easy to get so locked into what you're doing academically that you come in here and you let down. And I think it helps their tests. I think it helps their preparation academically when they've got to stay sharp here. And that's what we continue to push. And they've spent a lot of time studying and a lot of time with their tutors and preparing for the tests. And I think this is a good diversion for them. And so it just is what it is.
Is it a thin line between being re-energized by a win like the one over Kentucky and kind of coming out emotionally drained after a win like that?
I have no idea. I mean, we're not focused on any of that. We're just focused on as much preparation as we can have for the game. I don't know how we'd be emotionally drained, 7 days later. So I would hope not. But every game poses different challenges, and every game is an opportunity in itself. This one was a very special opportunity because of how good Kentucky is, because of where it was played, because of the hype and surrounding of everything that was surrounding it coming into it. And we should be excited. Dick Vitale, 2 weeks in a row, 2 games in a row, nothing wrong with that.
I guess, would you say you were pleasantly surprised by the way the guys that came back? I mean, I imagine you expected them throughout the week that they'd be able to kind of put Saturday behind them, but do you expect at least a day to kind of go by?
I don't want them to put it behind them. I want them to build on it. I think it can be a springboard to future opportunities. I think it would be very stupid and very, what's the word? It wouldn't make much sense for us to come in here and not try. If we tried to downplay that game or downplay that it happened, it wouldn't make any sense. At the same time, it'd be ridiculous as a coach to downplay that there were mistakes made in the game. And the old adage in coaching that you don't accept in victory what you won't accept in defeat. Even when you beat the #1 team in the country, I don't think you get away from that. And we didn't. So you want to build on it. You want it to springboard. You want confidence to grow. But at the same time, you want them to understand the bottom line is there's a lot of room to get better. And that's exactly how we treated it.
The challenge Notre Dame presents with its three-point shooting. Can you talk about that?
Well, it's a very strong preparation in the sense that they very rarely put somebody out there that can't make a three-point shot. And the ones that can't make a three-point shot are very good around the rim and can make 15-footers. So you've got to have great ball pressure, and maybe the strength of their game is their pick and roll game, their ball screen game, because that creates so many opportunities for the three-point shot. So you've got to have great pressure. You've got to understand exactly what you're trying to do. Your rotations have got to be solid. And at the same time, you cannot give this team open shots. I mean, our shot challenges have got to be at an extreme high. And they've been very high. And they've got to continue to be that way. But we cannot allow a team like this to get comfortable. They pass the ball well. And this is what makes them a dangerous three-point shooting team. Outside of just spacing. They pass the ball extremely well, and they really utilize the corners. And that's a big factor in how you're defending, because they want to use the entire court. And we've got to make sure that we're not allowing ball reversal and them being able to swing it from side to side to be the strength of their team that day.
Can you talk a little bit about how it might be a little bit more dangerous now that Cooley's begun to...
That's pretty cool. You got your own jacket there, your own logo on your jacket. That's cool. I just noticed. Is that new?
Oh, yeah, wife just got it from me.
That's nice. Early Christmas?
Yeah.
Now, does Rab John say Rab Johns or his say Peaks too? Where's he at?
He's been hurt this week.
He has?
He's going to have to play hurt Saturday.
Okay. That's cool. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Cooley finally established...
What is that in the middle? Is that the state of Indiana?
Yeah.
You guys cover more than just Indiana, though. We recruit more than just Indiana. I like it.
I think he should stand up and show everybody that.
Or somebody's got to. That should go right up there with the front glass on the standing on the scores table with the fist raised, and me with my heart and stomach somewhere down at my feet, trying to make sure that shot counted. Go ahead. I'm sorry. No more interruptions.
The question was, they lost their big guy inside, but they got Cooley now in the last two games, 44 points, and really established himself. How much, that makes him a lot more dangerous, doesn't it?
Oh, no question, because he can pass. They're a very good team. They're really learning to play without Tim, and you can see that. And that's a veteran group. Even though Grant didn't play a lot last year, he's really done an excellent job this year. But Atkins has played, Cooley's played. I know they're somewhat younger, but they've still got guys that have played a lot of games. Joey Brooks, Knight. So we've got to be. There's not guys that you say, okay, well, we're going to guard this guy this way because he can't shoot as well, and there's none of that. I mean, you've got to be really locked in to knowing that their spacing is their great weapon, because they can pass it, they can drive it, and they utilize the corners. And one thing that Cooley seems to do really well is pass out of the post.
You mentioned them learning to play without Abramitis. How have you kind of seen an evolution in them while watching on tape? What have they kind of figured out as they've sort of had?
I think they just build guys into that spot. I think Alex is doing a good job as a freshman. I think Patrick is doing an excellent job. Number 24 for them, even he's had 6 threes in the game already against Sam Houston State. He's feeling comfortable. I know the fact that he started those guys. I think he's got, I don't think there's a big drop off when they go to the bench. But I think Atkins is really taking control of the team with the ball, in the sense of the ball screens, in the sense of the reads, in the sense of attacking. And Grant is doing a much better job moving without the basketball. So they seem comfortable to me. I mean, that's what appears to me. But I mean, that was a big loss for them, because he can do so many different things. But their shooting percentages aren't going down. Their three-point percentages aren't going down.
You talked about the atmosphere up there. Have you thought about the fact that you're going to be playing in front of 3 fan bases that are probably going to be rooting against you because they don't want to see you guys get back to where you once were?
Then it'll feel like a road game. It'll be that much more preparation for Michigan State. So we'll just take it as it comes. I haven't really thought a lot about that. I just know there'll be a buzz in the building. So.
Can you talk about the mindset of your team? I mean, when they talk after games, they talk about how they're playing one game at a time and that kind of thing. But I mean, when a group of kids has not had a lot of success, I mean, do you worry how they're going to handle success?
Well, that's it. If you worry, you just set yourself up for failure. And my job is to be concerned. My job is to be concerned that we're all locked in. The biggest thing about this team's maturity, because the spring, the summer, and the fall really led to this, is that they stay in the present. And that's a lot easier said than done. It sounds kind of trite, but it's really true. Are they staying locked in? Is each practice its own thing? Is each film session its own thing? And my big thing to them after the game was, when you get a win like that, the attention that it receives, it's going to be so much easier. There's going to be so many more people wanting answers from you. And the bottom line is you've got to continue to have even more questions. And my job is to create those questions, create them in preparation, create them in practice, make sure that we've got the competition at a high rate. Our coaches have done a fantastic job of that. I always ask questions in preparation and put people on the spot, done it forever, and maybe I do it even more this week. So there's really, it's so easy. And when I was a younger coach, just starting out at Marquette, and we'd get ranked and deal with it, I probably spent too much time on the rankings. I spent too much time worrying about the next thing. This is a really, really tough team we're playing against. I mean, they've got really strong strengths. When you look at the way they shoot the ball, when you look at the way Cooley's playing, when you look at the way Atkins is with the pick and roll. We haven't covered the fact that Scott Martin has played in so many games, such a dangerous three-point shooter. And I was watching the Louisville game last night. I mean, he just totally attacked Louisville in the Big East tournament last year. I mean, so he's fully capable. So they've got some young guys, but they've got veterans. And if we get away from being in the present of how we get ready for this game, then that's a bad thing. And I haven't seen any of that. Are you at 10 out more for it? Absolutely. But you don't dwell on it. Because if you dwell on it, then it's the law of self-fulfilling prophecy. And I'm not looking for that either. You know, I'm not looking, say, well, you know, he doesn't look like he's locked in. If we don't sense something's right, we'll correct it on the fly. That doesn't mean we're going to play well on Saturday. You know, but if we spend time worrying about the fact that, okay, they've had a really long week with exams and they're mentally challenged a little bit because of how much work they've had to put into academics, and we've got this preparation and they're coming off this incredible win with all this hype, well then we're setting ourselves up for failure. If we stay locked into what we need to do, and I continue to coach in the sense of knowing that we need to utilize that bench, you know, for a lot of different purposes. But one, if somebody's not playing the right way, get their attention. So I'm not concerned about that.
Building on Hutch's question, how much does it warm your heart to hear Jordan after the game on Saturday just say, we don't want this to be the highlight of our season?
Well, I think I think you get most of them saying that. And then the trick is that we hold them accountable to that every day here. And the good news about this week is they've been holding each other accountable to that. So the last thing that I'm going to focus on with this team is Saturday being some setup. It's our next opportunity. It really is, and that's what we've got to make use of. The present is, do we get the most out of it? And I haven't looked back at anything. We had a practice last week that I didn't like very much. And I go home and I get concerned about that. And we came out and won a huge game on Saturday. So sometimes practices you can fall into a trap of feeling it's pretty good, or you can bait yourself into thinking that it wasn't very good. The bottom line is, are they getting better? Are they locked in? Do they understand the task at hand? And for us, it's coming out here and competing, being tough, being locked into each and every game plan, which they have been to this point. And I see no reason to believe that they won't be on Saturday.
What's the update on Elston?
He's practiced all week. He's been pretty good. We even had him out there a little bit yesterday to make sure we could get his rhythm back. So we're still, you know, helping him treat his back, but some of that's it's just a matter of make sure rehab is good. It's not anything that's going to set him back. It did for a couple of days, but it hasn't.
And the same thing.
I heard himself we could ask, which is not
It was in practice. It was just in practice. I don't think anything happened in practice. Think back about that. And it was just in practice, and it is kind of locked up on him a little bit, you know, and he kind of felt it more later that night and the next day, and it got sore on him. So we did all the things you need to do to treat him, to figure out what it was, and then they've treated it accordingly.
Say about Creek as well. I know that he's not going to play this year, but he was out there shooting some jumpers before the game. How's he
Well,
progressing?
it's just about that time for him to go out and put that. He's like the JV. He's like the JV game. He's the pregame act where he goes out there and starts drilling threes. Yesterday he was shooting with us. He's not ready to do shooting drills with us, but I saw him yesterday shooting in Cook with both shoes on. So he's not in the boot right now in practice, which is good. but there's it's not anytime soon before he'd be in drills or anything like that.
Right, but I mean, just to be able to do that so quickly
Yeah,
after
that's good for
surgery.
him. That's good for him. Think about how hard that is. You know, he's such a great teammate. He's locked in. Think about how hard that is. You know, and 2 years ago he was putting 31 on that team. I mean, he's maturing, and he's done a good job this week, as they all have academically, as we get those grades. But it's fun to watch him mature and grow up, and take care of what he can take care of. And basketball's not one of them. But if he can get out there right now and shoot and feel better about himself and let fans see that he's still got it when he's shooting some jump shots, I'm all for it.
Looking back, is it a little scary that, you know, you have the dog pile of people on Christian, and you got Elston down there with the back and Creek down there with the Achilles, and 17,000
There was
people?
probably a lot of scary things when you look out at that scene, but none of it. The only thing I was scared about was making sure that shot counted. So that's. But I think our coaches. I've heard some stories. I think our coaches did a great job of making sure that the guys that were that there weren't too many people jumping into the dog pile. It wasn't football where there might be a late hit. There weren't too many of those. They got that taken care of, I think. But,
Sorry. When you first started.
hold on, you got that trademark. Does that say trademark or is that .com?
No, I just pushed it .com.
I like it. I like it. That's cool now. It's cool. Probably a violation for me to wear one, but it's kind of nice.
Take that one back.
When you first started recruiting Jordy, did you recruit him on Marquette? Or
No.
When did you first become aware of him? How did that come?
We were aware of him a few weeks after, probably, well, I think Tim was aware of him here, but when we started to hold our head up above water a little bit, you know, then we were aware of him here, and then Tim saw him in Pittsburgh, and Tim kept, because I couldn't go out at that point, so Tim kept texting and then calling and saying that this guy's the real deal. And then we got video, and then there was a highlight video. That's when we offered him. There was no doubt. I met him shortly after. I think I met him Monday or Tuesday after he was in Pittsburgh at an AAU event. And we had an unofficial visit with him. And I'd seen some game film. And I think Tim saw him again. And I don't remember if I saw him or not. I only had a couple days. I might have saw him in the top 50 workout, because I was only given a couple days at that point. But the deciding point for us, we saw about a 12, 14-minute highlight tape. And we called him that night, brought him over. It was 11:30. It was late. You know, they were over here within 10 minutes, and we offered him a midcourt. It was classic. It was classic.
What was it that you saw in him on the tape that made you feel that this is a guy who...
Great shooter. Could play with both hands. Excellent passer. Could pass with both hands. Score with both hands. The range. And the fact that we'd had success with guys that looked like him, like Travis Diener. So that more than anything else.
Yeah, when you look
And
at
then he patterned himself after Steve Nash, and I saw Travis Diener. I was good with that.
When you look at him, he doesn't look like a fierce competitor, but he is. Is that one of the key attributes that he has?
Oh yeah. And you could see that on film a little bit, but more you had to hear about that from people. But absolutely, you know, with room to get better. With room to get better. I mean, look at the respect they gave him the other day putting Gilchrist on. I mean, that's a world-class player right there when it comes to defense and length and things like that. The young man's very good. And that was their priority, was to make sure Jordan couldn't get free. So that's a pretty good compliment coming from another coach that's an outstanding coach. So he's got a lot to him. He's improved in a lot of areas. I think his mid-range has gotten continually better. There's a couple of things we do where he catches it at 15 feet, and he's excellent, shooting a very high percentage there. So he's gotten a lot better since he's been here.
At the same time, for him to get 11 and 5 against a 6'7" guy, I mean, against somebody that long and athletic, what does that say about his?
Well, it says that there was good movement. There was good ball movement. The kick out from Cody on the offensive rebound was tremendous. And it was a challenge to get him freed up in that game. It really was, because they could switch. This is where John, it's amazing what he's done. I mean, again, they have changeover every year. But every year, those guys are incredibly hard matchups. And offensively and defensively. And I can see why they're so good defensively. It's not just the length, but it's the way they cover for one another. And it's not just Davis. I mean, it's the whole group. So, and they play with pretty good toughness. So I think it says a lot about his ability to move, his ability to get lost in the game a little bit, especially in a situation like that. His teammates' willingness to not only free him inside of the sets of actions, but just inside of the game.
A lot of players want to be good free throw shooters. obviously is an exceptional.
You're doing a feature on Jordan, I take.
Yeah, I am.
Okay, good. Go ahead.
What makes him a special free throw shooter?
Oh, I think confidence that he's going to make it. I think he's got a routine that I've got a pretty trained eye. I don't think I can pick it up if he switched anything. I mean, it's just the same every time. He's got a routine that he had before he got here, from Coach Holmes and his father. I mean, it's there. I mean, he's like some of these other guys. I mean, he's been well trained, well taught, year-round winner. And then we get him here, and we just try to get him stronger, get him better, try to stretch their game, try to get them to the level of the speed of the game, which no matter how hard you work, it's completely different when you get to the collegiate level. So just like it would be at the pro level. So you've got to continue to stretch that part of their games. But he had all the. We've never looked at his free throw and said we need to change this or that. We need to get him fouled more. But he needs to get himself fouled more. I mean, there's no question. I mean, that we won and never got to the bonus on Saturday is it's a gift. I mean, it really is, because we need to get to the foul line. We need to make free throws. We need to that's where our average is coming from. And eventually, the quicker we're in the bonus, the more his driving and coming off screens and ball screens gets him an opportunity to go to the foul line. And that's where we've got to head with this. Because you want the ball in his hands, when you want something good to happen from it, even when he's not shooting. And that's where the driving and things of that nature come in.
How do you think this team's progressing in terms of learning how to play with Cody inside, and how much they really need to get it into him?
We can get a lot better there. There's no question. But Cody can get better demanding the ball as well. And so it's a situation where we had a couple plays break the other day, and I subbed for one of them. I probably should have subbed for another one. And there's no question that I didn't utilize the bench the way that my mind and our mind was going into the game. And fortunately we were able to win. But we've got to do a better job of getting it in. And I say all that, and that was one of the hardest teams that we've ever seen, that I've ever seen as a coach, to get the ball entered against. And that's not an excuse, that's just a fact. I mean, we do have to do a better job of getting the ball in. And we've got to do a better job of getting him the ball in different situations at different times in the clock.
At the same time, you talk about him needing to be better at demanding the ball. I mean, what are the things that he needs to work on to basically do that?
Holding his seal, being more vocal, continue to create angles. His teammates need to go into him a little bit earlier. And again, the window against the best teams of pick and roll, the window against the best teams of post feeding, the window against the best teams of getting your shot off, it's very, very small. And when it's there, you got to take advantage of it. And the angle of the pass, the timing of the pass, the quickness of the release of the shot. The better the team you play, the more the margin for error goes up, and the more you've got to be, your details and technique have got to be great. And there were times the other day that wasn't. And a couple things we've corrected when we go against a bigger, longer guy, like with Gilchrist, and some of the things are just flat out, we need to do a better job of it. But it is a point of emphasis every day, and it's a point of emphasis whether it's 2-on-0, 2-on-2, 3-on-0, 3-on-3, 5-on-5. I mean, there's breakdown segments of that all the time, because when you have somebody that's capable like him, and Christian's the same way. I mean, Christian's in the mid-80s, correct? Free throw shooter, it's got to get fouled. So those are things we can continue to improve upon. You guys know that. I mean, and we're working on it. We just got to continue to. That's got to continue to be an emphasis that's carried out throughout the game.
Has it reached the point of this, so the guys, pretty much everybody knows what they're supposed to do, and everybody is focused on trying to do it? It's just a question of.
Yeah, and I think it goes to show how hard it was to do it the other day. You know, inside of that game. And again, I'm not making an excuse. It just is what it is. But there's never a bad time. Again, we have different plays on, different situations, different isolations, different things we think we can get. That's part of coaching the game and reading the game and then coming out of a timeout and trying to execute it. But at the same time, because he's such a good passer, it's more. And he can get better. The question was asked, we run an isolation for him in an elbow, okay? And it was a travel. He's got to continue to understand that the ball's got to go out in front as he's pivoting. He's got to drop the shoulder before he pivots. Those are all things that he's got to get used to. And again, as well schooled and well taught as he is, it's like Jordan, it's the speed of the game that he's got to learn. And he's doing a very good job with that. but we're also trying to put him in a lot of different spots on this court. And I think you'll continue to see that as the season goes on. It may not be Saturday, it may not be Monday, it may not be Thursday, it may not be New Year's Eve, but it's coming. And it's very smart, and he's very hungry. So the more that he gets comfortable in practice, the more that we see him carrying those things to games.
What was your deflections number Saturday?
Not that high, 50, 35 in the first half, 15 in the second half. Some of that was the way we played Teague, because we weren't up on the ball, as much the way we needed to do. And then again, it is just such a bad matchup game. I mean, we without Vic, and Will didn't have a great game with Gilchrist, but without Vic, we don't have another matchup for Gilchrist if we're going to keep Christian on Jones, and then they're just to win that game. I mean, they are so hard to plan against because of the length, because of the versatility, and there's no misnomer on how good they are, and they are the standard in this country right now for playing really tough defensively, and having all that individual talent that they're meshing into a team. I mean, they really are, and I know they had some guys that didn't have great days, for one reason or another, and maybe we had something to do with that, maybe they had something to do with it. Same thing with us, but they were really good, and I think they're going to get a lot better. That's why that win was so huge for us.
What do you think about this event, basically, this Crossroads Classic?
Crossroads? I'm anxious to see it. I think it's the number one thing when that came up. Okay, would it be a big deal? And I think I think everybody's had a week off, right?
Yeah.
Okay, it would be a big deal. There's going to be somewhat of a build-up for it. Would it sell out? And is TV, partnered in and locked in? And the fact that you've got CBS with Bill Raftery, and you've got an Ian Eagle, and you've got us with ESPN, and Dick Vitale and Dan Schumann, that all those questions are answered. The tickets are sold. So I think it's good, and I think it's like anything else. After it's played a year or two, then everybody will look at it and say, okay, do we want to continue this? Do we want to change the format? And I'll be in those conversations when Fred brings them to me. I really won't be bringing them up unless there would be something there that didn't make sense. But all the particulars that have gone into it, I think they're really good. And I think to play a game at Conseco, just like at Lucas Oil, when you got Rick Fuson at Conseco and you've got Mike Fox at Lucas Oil, those two guys and their teams are so first class, so first rate, that it's going to be really well done. Really well done. So no fears whatsoever, and other than playing the game, and definitely looking forward to it.